It looks like it's live because my screen says that. Let's see. I think it's live. I think it is. And I think it's a little lag time in between the whenever I start and when it is live because I think sometimes, yes, it is live. Okay. Yay. My name is Gilroy Madrid and I'm here at Fort Stockton ISD Central Office, and it is Friday, July 10th, 2020, 5:26 p.m. I want to thank you, those of you who are on Facebook watching this, the way you figured out how to get alerts whenever we do Facebook Lives. I appreciate that. You guys are much ahead of the game as far as what I am in my technology realm of fun. So I appreciate that. Today, we're going to go over quite a bit of the things. I'm going to share a screen with you. And real quick, again, I want to thank you very much for being patient with us. We've had meetings all week long trying to come together on what we can do to have school and things like that with this coming school year. And so, real quick, somebody asked me last week, why do you always look off to the right up there at this time? Well, the reason is there's a calendar up there and there's a clock up there. And the clock helps me realize like, I better hurry and get this done. So, and the calendar just kind of helps me figure out, if I'm talking about dates and things. So if you see me look off to that direction or you see me looking over there, it's because that's what's there. That was a question somebody called and asked, why do you keep doing that? And I said, well, that's what it is. All right, I'm going to share a screen with you, and let me get it real quick. And we're going to go over quite a bit of things. I'm going to do the best I can. And almost there. Again, thank you very much for being here with us today. We've been working hard to get a lot of things going in place. And so there's my share screen button. There's that. And when you see the screen, I'm guessing you can. So, all right. Today is July 10th, 2020. Real quick, before we start, it would be really good, extremely advantageous that parents of kids in Fort Stockton ISD text yes to 67587. Again, that is extremely important that you text yes to 67587. Our school messenger system sends out text messages quite frequently, emails, and phone calls. But we notice that the text messaging, a lot of parents have their phones and they're busy at work and they're busy doing things with their kids, but they can get to a text message and they can read it. So we've learned that a lot of parents are asking, how come I don't get text messages, but my neighbor does? The reason is two things. First of all, if we have your most updated message or your most updated cell phone in the system whenever we registered kids back then, or if you call the school and say, hey, I had to change my number for whatever reason, we put that in the system. But then at that point, we also you get text messages, but you have to tell your phone to accept those text messages. Okay. And so you tell your phone that it goes to your provider, and then we're allowed to send text messages through that system. So to opt in, you text yes to 67587. If you don't want text messages from us, you know what? Don't worry about it. You can take it off. If you say yes and then you change it to no, you just type no. But I am telling you from what we are hearing that it is very important because we all have our phones. We're a bunch of thumb warriors out there, so we have our phones, and so that's where we're at. So again, I'm going to ask you again to text yes to 67587. All right, good deal. All right, real quick, I'm going to try to go through as many questions as I can that people have been calling in, emailing me, putting on Facebook, on Twitter, on the Panther at fsisd.net. They've been calling principals. I go to the gas station. I go to the store yesterday. I will say this before I go on. I went to Lowe's yesterday, and for the first time ever, I saw everybody in Lowe's with a mask. So I applaud Fort Stockton, and the workers at Lowe's, and there's a shot. And it's probably like that at Walmart. I haven't been to Walmart in the last 2 or 3 days, but every single person at Lowe's had a mask on. Workers to people in the store, it was great. So again, thank you for doing that. I wanted to talk a little bit about pandemics. I'm not a scientist by any means. I am not a um, professional in the science world of things, but I have read a little bit about pandemics. And sorry, I should have drank water before I started, but I want you to let you know, in pandemics, there's three ways we can almost get rid of pandemics. The first way is a vaccine. The problem with vaccines is it takes a long time, quite a bit of a long time, to really hone in on how we can vaccinate things. It's like polio, smallpox, that kind of thing. And then there's other things. So vaccines is one, takes a long time. Uh, then there is mutations of the virus, where, for example, Spanish flu and other things. We still have Spanish flu, but it's not as aggressive because some scientists believe that it's kind of mutated to not so, um, I guess, deadly or horrible or dangerous as it was when it first started. So, but then that's Mother Nature, and Mother Nature sometimes takes a long time. And the third way is behavior, and behavior of how we do things, like going to Lowe's and buying things with masks, washing our hands, staying home if we have to, those kinds of things. So our behavior is, we can do that today. We can do that. We can stay home. We can wear a mask, regardless of what's going on in the world. And we really can't um, dictate what other people do or say, but we can really control what we do and say. And so I am going to encourage you for this to get better. Yes, I know that Texas is open and the world is open, and now is it closed and we're at 50%, 25. That's all fine and all, but we can all control things that we can in our lives and in our families. So, with that being said, the number one way at this point that we're at is behavior, and we have to really look at our own behavior to maybe help mitigate what's going on in the world. Uh, so, on the screen here, we have gatherings. Um, Somebody had a question. Well, how are you guys going to handle gatherings of 50% more or whatever? Um, we are addressing that. We are looking at our schedules and how to figure out if we're going to, have kids come every day of the week, or have block schedules, or where a certain group of kids come one day and a certain group of kids come another day, especially at the 4th through 12th grade level. I will tell you this, that at the K through 3 grade level, it is extremely important for kids to be in the classroom. And let me tell you why. There's one good reason. The most important thing for kids in schools as far as learning is a teacher. A teacher is the number one resource for every kid in schools, period, regardless of where that teacher is at. So at that level of kindergarten through 3rd grade, even pre-K, a teacher with a student is probably the number one way to help that kid learn in schools. All right. So that's why we considered where the elementary campuses go every single day. Now, and the other thing is this, is that at that grade level, we've taught many years with schools being self-contained, meaning you stay with that teacher all day long for 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten, pre-K. Now, that being said, it is an option. You do not have to um, have your you do not have to attend school. If you want to be at home learning, you are more than happy to do at home learning, and we are going to provide at home learning. If you want to come to on campus, you can. So let me say this: we are requesting that elementary students, pre-K through 3, go to school, but you don't have to. If you want to stay home and say I want to do the at home learning, you are more than welcome to do that. I will tell you this, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen real quick so you can see what I am talking about. Um, we are having some stop sharing. We just sent out a postcard yesterday and today. It looks like this. That's the backside. It does have an address on there. On there, it tells you that we're needing some information. You can scan that with your phone, and we just got it. We have to know some ish. We need to know if you want to do at home learning, or if you want to do um, learning at school, face to face. Okay, it's extremely important for us to get that information. We've sent out messages, emails, text messages, and then we sent this out. You should be getting it tomorrow. I'm thinking, working with the postal service to get this out. So you should be getting this tomorrow. It's extremely important to fill it out. Put on there whether you want to be at home learning or if you are wanting to do face to face learning. Okay. Um, those are two options that you have. Can you switch back and forth? You possibly could, yes, but we're going to ask that we do it a little bit differently. The other thing is that we have a question about Clorox wipes. Somebody said, "Is there Clorox wipes in town?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'd have to go look and check." And I guess because it was on a what do you call it, a school supplies list, and so um, you know what it there's things probably on school supplies list that you probably can get sometimes. And guess what? We've never told a kid no. If you have it, great. If you don't, do the best we can. I will tell you this: we are ordering things left and right. Next time, I probably need to do a Facebook Live from the warehouse so you can see how packed it is with stuff that we have gotten in on trucks, sanitizers, stands, face bottles. We're also working with our elementary pre-K through third. Our principals and staff have ordered face shields for all our kids because we do know that the question is going to be, do we want all face shields? Someone says, if I fill out the survey online, do we have to do this one as well? It's the same survey. It's basically the same survey. We just need to know if you want to do it at home. We're going to ask some other questions like, do you have internet at home? Do you have a computer at home? And all those things. And I may hold off a little bit and wait to the end to ask questions, answer some more questions. So, going back to what I said, we've done a lot. We've done a lot of things. We've been training our summer staff on how we do things in our building. We've been practicing a lot with our summer strength and conditioning, which is also optional. Summer strength and conditioning is optional. You don't have to go. You don't have to be there. I mean, it's great if you are. If not, not a big deal. It's just something we offer. Someone asked about homework. Are y'all going to do packets and this like that? Just like anything else, we probably are going to do homework. I mean, I don't know what school in the country doesn't have homework. Maybe there are some. I don't know. But packets and things like that. I will tell you this: packets are not something that we are going to do. The state of Texas has said packets is not very fair to parents learning, and it isn't. It is not. We know that. So it's not one of the things we're looking at. We are looking at home learning and face to face, just like the state of Texas and every other school in Texas is looking at. But it's up to the parents. However, you guys want to decide, we'll work with you. Not a big deal. We talked about safety measures, and again, let me say this: at pre-K through third grade, we are providing face shields for every student, and we are providing face shields and masks for the staff as well. If a kid wants to wear a mask and a face shield, that's fine. And the reason why face shields are important at that elementary level is because when students are learning the language English and they're learning how to read and they're learning how to write, sometimes it's extremely important for teachers to be able to look at how students form their mouths whenever they say words and they're learning and they're reading. So that's extremely important for us to do that. So, but again, if you don't want to send your kid to school, that's fine, not a big deal. But we will be doing that at school. Now I will tell you this: on the surveys that we've had so far, it's about 50-50%. We have 50% of our people whose parents who want their kids to stay at home. We have about 50% who said, "Look, I got to send my kid to school. I have a job and we're struggling now. Not a big deal. If you want to send your kid to school every single day, guess what? You can. That is okay. If you want to keep your kids at home, that is okay. All right. It is okay. Either way, we will work with you. We just ask that you're patient with us as we're going through this because I will tell you, there is not a book written to help us to figure out what we're doing. And so I just want to let you know, either way, fill out the survey. If you have any questions, call your campus. Um, Registration is online starting July 20th. All right. July 20th, it's going to go live. Mary Lou Armendariz has been working extremely hard to put that together. We are also working to do a bus registration form as well. Mr. Sanchez with the technology department is working really hard. We're about done on that to get that out as well. It'll be on that day as well. So the registration information will be put out. I will tell you that if the first place to go to will be on the school's webpage. We've also created a webpage. Mrs. Sabia with the technology department, she's put together a 2020-2021 back to school webpage, part of our district's webpage. It's going to have all the information for how we're going to handle going back to school this year. So I'll show you that here in a little bit. E-learning, I mean, virtual learning, at home learning is e-learning. I'm going to tell you this, probably everything we do, there's going to be an aspect of learning from home, just like anything else. It's just going to be a little bit different, okay? Supplies, you know, when we did those school supply lists, we were under the assumption of we're starting school because the governor has said, you guys are going to be in school in the fall, regardless. Well, then things have changed. As you can see, Texas is the atmosphere or the what's going on in Texas with COVID cases and things like that. So things have changed. You know, they're still saying you're going to be in school, but we're going to do things a little differently. Okay. Sharing supplies, we don't recommend sharing supplies. Um, if there's an issue, I will tell you this: there's not a single kid in our school district who has gone to school that they didn't have the supplies they had in school. Whether we did it, a teacher did it, a neighbor did it, our friends did it, whatever. There's not a single kid, so there's no reason to have to share supplies. We're looking at protocols to not share supplies with kids now. There's some things we may have to share from to class, and it may be something where if we do a lab this week, we may on Monday we may have to do a lab with the next class on this week or whatever. So there's some things we'll have to address. There was a question about extracurricular and CTE classes. Whew, this is something that we get. Everybody's worried about, can they play sports? Can they play sports? What are you going to do about sports? What are you going to do about band? What are you going to do about sports? What are you going to do about band? Well, here's what we're going to do. UIL has said if kids are at home learning, if they're registered in your school for at home learning, or if your kids are registered at your school for face to face learning, whether they're at home or face to face, can they participate in sports, band, theater arts? And they've left it up to schools, and TEA has left it up to schools to decide that. Now, it's not my favorite thing, I get it, but I understand. Band is an extension of the classroom. Marching band is part of the things you have to teach in music by the state of Texas and the TEKS. And when you're in athletics, it's the same thing. So after talking to Coach Peters, after talking to Mr. Alvarado and Mr. Trainum and myself and the principals, we got together. Um, if you are doing at home learning or you're doing face to face, you can do football, you can do volleyball, you can do band, you can do all those things. Will we have safety measures in place? Yes, we will. In fact, UIL has put a lot of safety measures out for us that we've been trying to share with our community and sharing with our kids and our coaches. So, yes, you can do that. Now, we'll say this. There's one thing that's changed for strength and conditioning. The boys will be all together at the middle school from 7 a.m. There's not a whole lot of boys that are coming to strength and conditioning. So Coach Peters has said that all the boys will be 7 a.m. at the middle school. Girls will stay where they're at. The girls are at the high school, 10th and 12th grade from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then 9th and 11th grade will be from, I think it was, I don't remember, 8:30 to 9:30. I believe, yes, it was 8:30 to 9:30. All right, so believe it or not, doing the strength and conditioning has helped us to kind of figure out how we need to handle things when we do start school. Again, there's a survey out there. Please get it filled out. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is the PEBT. You're probably tired of hearing about the PEBT, and that's meals for students at home. They have extended that deadline to July 30th. So if you need to get some help from the state of Texas as far as providing meals for your kids at home, if you've applied for it, great. If you haven't, you can still apply for it. It is on our website. Is they extended it to July 31st? I'm sorry. So that is up and for you if you want to do that. I will tell you this: TEA has also said that 1 week before school starts, we have to let parents know about a summary of the safety measures that we have in place, just a summary of things that we're doing in place for in schools. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen with you just to kind of give you some ideas that we've been working throughout the times that we have been doing this. Okay, so again, TA said, hey, you guys, before week school starts, you got to let parents know what you guys are doing, and so we are working on a plan. Hopefully we don't get it before week starts. We'd like to get it as soon as possible, but I would tell you that when we have these meetings with TEA, we have them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so we're scrambling to inform parents of stuff that's going on Fridays, and so sometimes that is the issue. So these are some of the things that we've talked about and we're putting together. How to keep healthy and how to keep kids healthy and schools open. We have to really reinforce washing hands. We have to have spaces as open as possible. How do you get spaces as open as possible? If you're in a room of 10 by 10, The only way you can get more space is you get rid of things that are inside the room. So we may have to declutter our rooms, get rid of that overhead projector in the corner that we haven't used since Mr. Madrid was in the first grade, that kind of thing. So we are looking at minimizing or making as much room as possible in a building, in a classroom, because the more room you have, then the lesser chance you have of getting coronavirus than you are in a confined space. That's why we stay 6 feet apart. Are we able to stay 6 feet apart in schools? Sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. We're and 6 feet apart. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it's for most people, all adults, it's about maybe elbows, you know, distance. For little ones, it's even a little bit further. So there is a misspelled word. I think minimal might be misspelled. I'm not too sure, but it might be. I think there's an A in there, so I'm sorry for that. Um, Space between each other, desks and materials should be clean. We talked about masks and shields, moving passing periods. Right now, we're still working on moving and passing periods. We're trying to remind students and people not to touch each other's stuff. And if those of you that have little ones, sometimes it's hard to get kids to stop touching other people's stuff. So let's see here. I'm going to go to the next screen. Um, some of the things that we also talked about is what we have to do. And our number one thing is, we have to have high academic outcomes. But the issue is that the highest way you can do that is being on campus. And then we have to deal with virtual instruction. And then we have to catch up from things that we weren't able to do from last fall or last spring. We do have to address administrative activities for teachers, staff, students, whether it's at home, whether it's at school, as far as things that, how do we go to the restroom? How do we drink water? How do we go to the cafeteria? The cafeteria is a big thing. How are you guys going to do all that in the cafeteria? Well, we do know that when we've looked at serving food in the classrooms, that's not what, I'm not, don't take, you said, don't hold anything to this because we're still working on a lot of plans, or alternating how we serve in the commons area or the cafeterias. With that being said, it's important for you guys to fill out that survey so we kind of have an idea to know how to handle things, um, how to handle non-UL extracurricular sports and activities, other activities, visits by parents and general public. I will tell you this. What they are telling us is to keep as many people out of your building as possible, dropped off, and staffers walking them to the school. Now, for example, high school, not a big deal. I do know that that's a big thing for elementary, especially kindergarten kids. My kids go to the daycare, and let me tell you, I've had to deal with that as well. Drop them off at the door, they get their temperature checked, and so I get it. It's not something I like, but I understand it. I understand why it's there. I don't like it, but I understand it. I understand the importance of mitigating those things to help eliminate people getting sick. Can you eliminate it totally? You cannot. But with our behavior and how we do things, we all need that for the betterment of Texas and the country and the world. So I will tell you this: there's going to be a lot of things that you may not like, but I will promise you we're going to try to make things as eventful for a kid to be in school. Because believe it or not, every single person who's making decisions either has kids in school, family, and so it is tough. So when we make decisions, it's our kids as well. And so sometimes it's not the greatest. We know that, but we also know that we have a bigger picture of what we have to deal with. Um, and can you make everybody 100% happy? No, you cannot. Trust me, even in our own homes. Um, I haven't gone over backpacks here in a little bit, but I will. I'll talk a little bit about backpacks because I know that some of you are upset because we don't really post out things. I will tell you this, a backpack thing, we knew we were doing it on Monday, but we didn't have all the details about how we're going to, put it together. I think we came out with finally the final guidelines on Wednesday, working with Mr. Alvarado and kind of working out how we're going to handle that. So we did put a FAQ for backpacks. I will tell you this, and again, the reason why we are requesting backpacks is because we're going to eliminate locker use from intermediate, middle school, and high school. So with that being said, there's a lot of things that come into play here. A clear backpack, and somebody mentioned it earlier. Well, the kids carry so much stuff. That's the point. The more stuff we bring into school, the better chance that it could have something on there that we don't need as far as keeping us healthy. The less we have, the better as far as keeping surfaces away. So if I have 20 books in a classroom and I have 10 books in my backpack, there's a I have 10 more books that I have to worry about that could have coronavirus on there. So the less surface area you have, the better. We are working with providing a lot of resources for our teachers and our custodians and our maintenance people to clean and disinfect buses and buildings and things like that. We're going to have a lot of end of the day procedures, beginning of the day procedures for our staff, and so I ask you to be patient with them because we're learning as we go. And so backpacks, yes, I get it's an issue, but the whole idea is to minimize some things. Plus, it'll help for kids to see, hey, did I get all my stuff in the morning? Parents, hey, let me look at your backpack. Well, you don't have to dig in through the backpack. And then you can tell if your kid's got stuff in the backpack that don't need to go to school, take it out. It is not a big deal. I mean, we're just trying to work together to minimize that issue and minimize things that when they take things to school that they don't lose it, they don't get it stolen and what have you. So again, are backpacks a popular thing? Probably not. I get it, but I understand the importance of it, especially if we're taking away lockers. We don't need kids with a backpack with 30 pounds worth of books in there. That's not healthy for anybody. That's not healthy to take it to class. People are going to trip on it. People are going to fall. Not a good thing. Okay. So that is one of the main reasons why we're doing it. And so um, I know that Walmart was looking at getting them. I know that you can get them on Amazon and things like that. So some parents have already called and said, "Hey, I got my backpacks. My kids love it. Not a big deal." And so that is out there. We will put that. It is on our webpage to do that. So that came out this week, Wednesday. Okay, so and then we considered that because we're not doing lockers. Now we are doing lockers at the elementary level because they're in the classrooms, but from fourth grade and up, they're not in the classrooms. They're in the hallways, and we really need to not keep congregating in the hallways. And so we're trying to encourage kids that if you're going to talk to each other, that you walk and talk, and that you walk on one side of the hall. And then if you're walking this way, you will stay to the right. Kind of help them learn how to drive a car. For those of you who, wink, wink, haven't taught your kids how to drive, or if they've taken the car without permission, wink, wink, right? So just things like that, just to kind of try to help them. All right. So again, I know that we are looking at trying to keep as many people out of the building and just having the most essential people in the building, which are students and staff. I apologize. I know that's not a fun or great decision, but we're going to do the very best we can to make that first day of school for our kids a memorable first day of school. Because it is, I get it. I have kids too. We all do. Kids, friends, neighbors, nieces, nephews, and I don't like it, but I understand the importance of it. We do have to provide a notice. TEA says 1 week before, and it's just a summary. They've said you can do it however you want, but you do have to let parents know 1 week before school starts. We do have to tell you guys how the practices we have in place within that summary, and then how we're going to handle a lab confirmed case if we do have it. Um, and then the mitigating is probably the most important part, and that's what we're going to do to provide with our staff and people about how we handle things to not spread uh, coronavirus. And so it's just practices to reduce the likely spread of it inside of a school. um, I'm going to share a screen with you because this one's kind of important because we get this question all the time. I'm having trouble. That's somebody's phone. Did you hear that? All right, I'm going to share a screen with you. In 2020 for schools. Uh, who knows what close contact means for Texas Medical Association or CDC, but this is what TEA is telling us. Close contact is determined by an appropriate public health agency. Okay. For clarity, close contact is defined as being directly exposed to infectious secretions. For example, EG means for example, I think. I'm going to say it does. Being coughed on while not wearing a mask or a face shield, or being within 6 feet for a cumulative duration of 15 minutes while not wearing a mask or face shield. If either occurred at any time in the last 14 days at the same time the infected individual was infectious, I'll go to the next slide. So that is what close contact means from TEA for schools. Being directly exposed to infectious secretions by being coughed on while not wearing a mask or face shield, or being within 6 feet for a cumulative duration of 15 minutes while not wearing a mask or face shield. not my definitions. The definition TA says as of July 7th, 2020. Okay. Now, if you say yes or no, oh, here's the other thing we have to do. Those of you who went to graduation, thank you for being patient while we did that because that was not easy. There's no book written on that. And we were the first one of the first schools to do graduation, and it was kind of tough, but we did it. Okay. There was a sheet that you had to answer all these questions, and believe it or not, that sheet has changed 3 times since then. But the questionnaire for screening is basic for kids is basically going to say yes or no to the overall statement that they are symptomatic for COVID-19 as opposed to asking the individual for specific symptom confirmation. It's a long sentence, is it? So our plans are to have posters and tell kids these are the things you have to say yes or no to, just collectively. Is it a yes or no? Okay. School citizens are not entitled to collect information during screening on the specific health information of an individual beyond that they are symptomatic. Um, that's what's in place. You can read that several different ways. I will tell you this: we're a principal can always ask questions to figure out what's in the best interest and the safety of a student. Now, can we share that information with a whole lot of people? No, and a lot of people get upset at that. And I've mentioned it before that we're really not at we're not able to discuss any situation publicly with about a staff member or a student, and sometimes people struggle with that. So I'm sorry. Same thing in the health field. They can't really discuss health uh, matters of individuals out in the public. And then it says individuals are presumed infectious at least 2 days prior to symptom onset, or in the case of asymptomatic individuals who are lab confirmed with COVID 19, 2 days prior to the confirming lab test. We got this from TEA this week. That's what we're dealing with. Um, it is what it is. That might be the end of my slideshow, I think. I'm not too sure. I'm going to stop sharing. And we are there. Yay. Okay. Yeah, that was the end of what I was going over. So, with that being said, I had written down some things on my sheet here. Let's see. Before I go on, by any means whatsoever, and when we're dealing with something that's very precious to people, and that's their kids, and I get it. Those who've been calling us, supporting us. I want to thank the bus drivers who are uh, going to end up having a tough job. We support them. We support our maintenance workers who've been working all summer long, our custodians and our staff members who have been working all summer long preparing. And because it is not easy. Because here's the thing: not only do we prepare for school every year, but now we're preparing for school every single year. Plus, we're preparing for a lot of other things that we didn't even know we had to prepare for. And so it is tough. It is extremely tough. But they're doing a great job. Our cafeteria ladies did a wonderful job serving so many meals. Um, it's not easy. And so there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are doing things that we don't hear about, we don't see. And so if you see a school person, you know they work at the school, I'm just going to ask that you thank them because there's some wonderful people out there doing a wonderful things, just like our teachers did in the spring. A lot of teachers worked hard to get some things done, and they probably never knew. Some of them maybe not ever known what Google Classroom was. Trust me, 8 years ago or 4 years ago, I had to learn what Google Classroom, and it was not pretty. Whew. Learning Google Classroom was not pretty for me. I get it. So I understand the pain and suffering. And I do appreciate our teachers and our staff and our principals and our counselors for doing that because it was not easy. Um, and so we thank you very much for doing that. In the hospital, the medical workers out in the field, people working at the stores, restaurants that are still providing the things that we need for our community. Thank you very much. I just hope that you you make a decision for what you can do in your circle to make things to help mitigate the spread of coronavirus. Shout out to the city and the county for making tough decisions about celebrations. Um, that's tough. I'm very thankful sometimes I don't have to make those decisions, but it's very tough. Shout out to Chris and to Joe for making those decisions and the city council and the county commissioners because it is tough. Shout out to Betsy at the hospital. Hang in there. Those of you who are working in the medical field, um, thank you for being that. Thank you for doing what you have to do and being making decisions you have to make because it is tough. Mention about the PEBT. It's still out there, July 31st. And again, we will work to have our plan. TEA says you got to have it by the first week of school when it starts. Our goal is not to do that. So our goal is to do it earlier. Now, keep this in mind. The things I am telling you today could change tomorrow, could change Monday. And so it's an ever changing thing. And so we're going with what we know as of today, uh, Friday, July 10th at 6:01 p.m. So there's some other questions I think. Let me see here. I'm going to try to answer a few questions. If we have new kindergartners, what do we use as an ID number on the survey? Okay, good question. On the ID for the survey, and I'm going to show you that here in a little bit, just leave it blank, or you can put 000. Just leave it blank. Not a big deal. You don't have to do that. If you don't remember your kid's ID number, ask your kids first. Good way of figuring that out. They'll know. They'll act like they don't know. I promise you, they'll know. Say, well, what number would you know at school? What number would you think? Trust me, they know. But if you don't, not a big deal. You can ask them a lunch number, and they're like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah." So trust me, it's just you got to ask the right questions the right way. We all know how our kids are. Some days I love my poor kids, my two Churdens, my two boys, and some days I know they love me. I just know some days they don't like me, and that's okay. It is okay for my kids not to like me, but it is my responsibility to help them to make good choices. And so, um, be patient with your kids, and I hope that your kids are patient with you. Do elementary kids need clear backpacks? Good question. No. Well, let's figure out what elementary means. Elementary normally means what I'm gonna rephrase that question. Do Apache and Alamo students need clear backpacks? The question is, are they required to wear clear backpacks? The answer is no. Again, Apache and Alamo is not required to wear clear backpacks. Can you wear clear backpacks? Yes, you can if you're in Apache and Alamo. Not a big deal. If you want to wear them and join the crowd and have a clear backpack to help your kid figure out what they are taking to school that they don't need to be taking, like toys and Legos and hot rods or Barbies or whatever they do, Kindle Fire HDs or whatever, yeah, you can wear a clear backpack. I almost encourage it. I've seen some of the kids at Apache and Alamo schools with their backpacks, and I'm like, man, they must put bricks in there. Those of you who are missing bricks at your house, check your kids' backpacks because, man, sometimes they're loaded with stuff. So, again, Apache and Alamo, you're not required to have clear backpacks, but you can if you want. Simple as that. From intermediate, middle school, and high school, yes, you must have a clear backpack. Okay. Hopefully that clears up that question. What will happen if there is a confirmed case within the school? Will they close again? We are setting up protocols for that right now, how we handle that, because we may have to just temporarily shut a school down for 3 or 4 days, depending on what the situation is. We may have to shut down a hallway. We may have to shut down a wing. We may have to shut down a class. We may have to shut down something. Yeah, there could be closures. What are we going to do if we have one? That is one of the things that we do have to address in our plan, and we are working on that right now. And it does take time to figure out that plan because it could change as well. So yes, we would probably shut down school temporarily, depending on what it is. We would have to, and then we are having things in place for our maintenance and janitors to have kits where they can be safely put on to disinfect in the room. I know this weekend I believe in the next coming weeks, have germ blasts coming out to Fort Stockton ISD to germ blast our entire schools before school starts and just have a fresh start. And just go from there. Those of you who don't know Germ Blast comes in, and we've been using them for about 6 to 7 years now. I will tell you this: Germ Blast has helped because before we had Germ Blast, we had staph infections in our locker room. Sometimes we've never had a staph infection, knock on wood, since we've been bringing Germ Blast into our schools in our athletic areas. So, Germ Blast is coming in. We're doing that. Will we still be able to check our elementary age children out for lunch? Right now, I'm going to say no to that. But I know we've talked about that with our principals, and I know that it's the whole idea is to keep kids in a building and minimize people coming in the building. We are not doing that. There's no way that it's going to be because we can't control what happens outside of the school. I'm sorry. I know that's something you probably don't want to hear, but taking kids out for lunch um, is not in the best interest of a lot of people to minimize the spread of coronavirus. Now, Are you can you still check out your kid to go to the doctor? Yeah, that's not going to be a big deal. But we're trying to leave people out of school buildings the best we can. Now, I'm not saying leave you out of the education of your kids. That's not it at all. You can always a big deal. We've done that for a long time. So yes, I will tell you this. We have talked about that. Now that I'm looking at my notes on my other screen, the whole idea is not to have anybody in our schools except for the kids and the staff. The less people we have, the better chance we have of providing mitigating measures for the people we have. And I know that's not a popular thing. I'm sorry. I get it. Hey, my kid's going to school at daycare, and I have nieces and nephews, and I'd like to eat with them too. But if I don't have to, if it's not essential, now it's just I'm sorry. I know that's probably something you didn't want to hear, but yeah, um, that's where we're at on that. And so I am sorry. And again, you can do at home learning if you want, or you can do face to face. Either way, okay. Some people have babysitters, great. Some people can stay home and deal with their kids at home learning. I've had several people say it's tough. I'm ready for my kid to go back to school. I've heard people say there's people who want to teach my kids, and so yes, and there are wonderful Fort Stockton ISD teachers, aides, counselors, and principals. Yes, we want them, and all we have to do is change our behavior on how we do things in school. So let me see what else we got as far as some questions. It's about 6:10 p.m. I don't even know what time we started. All right, are kids going to have to wear a mask at school? Um, I will tell you this: if a kid wants to wear a mask at school, not a problem. Right now, we really haven't put that in place. We are highly going to recommend it. And some kids are like, well, it really bothers me. Blah 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 blah. I get it. Um, Now, I'd almost hate to say us forcing kids. Now we haven't gotten to that point. We've discussed it, but we are going to recommend if you want to wear a mask, we ask that you do that. Not a big deal. We ask that you wear a mask. How are kids be able to store jackets and coats in the winter without a locker? Again, um, well, I'm going to tell you something. For the most part, a lot of kids take their jackets and coats with them anyway. It's not, that's the only thing I can tell them. If they want to, I guess some of those jackets and coats would be pretty big. That's a good question. We may just have to work on that. Do the very best we can. They may just have to take it with them to classes. Right now, if you're right, if they don't have lockers, what you can do with them? I love questions that people ask, and then they want us to have all the answers. And some days I didn't even think about that till just now. But me thinking about it as a principal, as a teacher, yeah, if they don't have lockers, what is the only the option is they would have to take it with them to their classes. Elementary, kindergarten through third grade, Apache and Alamo, they'll have lockers in their classrooms. Okay, um, it may be something that we look at. How are we going to pack our backpack? Can we keep our jacket in our backpack? It may be something where um, I'm trying to think even at the highest. Oh, there was another good question. What about athletics and bags and things like that? So going back to jackets, I mean, if they're going to be a jacket, there was times whenever it was so cold outside, we let kids take their jackets with them to class. I mean, so that question is a little rough, but there was times it was too cold, and we had kids that we would let them do that. Especially if it was cold outside. Not a big deal. And then where we had classrooms where there was a lot of windows, like in the science rooms, and the cold was touching the cold air was outside, and the windows were there. Yeah, so you know, I'm gonna say they can take it with them. Now the crazy thing is we'll have kids who take jackets, they're huge jackets, in September. So that's where that's going to be. Yeah, I mean that's where that question's at. Will kids travel for sports, manual, etc. on buses? Considering and concerning social distancing. Well, right now, uh, I will tell you this: that we may have to minimize if we even go out of town or who goes to games. We don't know yet. Um, that's something that we are working with UIL. It's going to be a mess. I know there's a lot of schools who are saying, no, we're just not going to play this. We're not going to do that. We're only going to do this. We're only going to do that. Those are good questions. Um, will we travel? Well, we probably will. I just don't know how exactly we're going to handle it being on the bus. We will try to be social distance. We will try to do those things. Is there a perfect or right answer? No. I will also say that I know that UIL is getting the same questions that we are getting, and so that's a tough question. Okay, so kudos to you for asking a tough question. Will kids travel for sports band UIL? Probably they will. I just don't know. And a good, probably or not. We'll have to make a decision on that. That's a tough one. We know the importance, because here's the crazy thing. We'll have parents who say, "Well, I want my kids to be at home learning, but they need to be at football, or they need to be doing that." But then they'll be upset that they have to travel somewhere to go to a football game. And so right now, that's a tough one. So we really haven't gotten to that point, but it's on my screen here, and that's something I know that will be addressed. But I suspect UIL will probably address that before we do, because it'll affect everybody. Because I can see schools saying, "Well, we're gonna do that," and then there's other schools that'll be much more conservative about how they handle things and the safety of their kids. So um, that's a touchy one. Um, what about gym, PE, playground use, recess? Yes, we're still gonna have gym. Yes, we'll have PE. Yes, we'll have playground. But again, here's the thing. Think about it like this: we know that the virus is in the air, and you have a better chance of not contracting the virus the bigger the room. Now, will we have to limit how many kids in those rooms? Yeah. Right now, like I said, our parents have put on there that there's about 50% of our kids who are going to school face to face, and 50% who are who are going to be at home learning. With that being said, that's the 50% capacity. Not that we wanted it that way. That's just where it's at. We are looking at providing something to that's after recess, that we do something to the playground, hose it down with some type of germicide, that would help mitigate, the spread of that. Because of that, the bigger the room, outside is the best place. We could have classes outside, great, but we can't. Sometimes we can. I guess you could sometimes, but the bigger the room, the better to mitigate the spread of coronavirus, because it is airborne. So if you're in a 100 foot by 100 foot room as opposed to a 10 by 10, and the same people, there's a coronavirus flying in there, whether it's 10 particles of it in a 10 by 10, or 10 particles of it in a 100 by 100 room, you got a better chance of not getting it in the bigger room. But we also know that if we're doing that, yeah, we're going to have to disinfect things and playground equipment and not share, and maybe run in place and stretch and do things like that. Yeah, we've talked about that. Do we have all the answers yet? No, we do not. So we are still waiting to work on some things. What is being done for older teachers, those that their immune system is compromised? I will tell you this, that we are working with our attorneys and health officials about how we're going to handle older teachers. Well, first of all, if a teacher wants to wear a mask and they want to have their, do anything they feel that is safe in their room, that is okay, you know. But I will tell you this: our kids need our teachers, and so I know that we can do things to help mitigate people getting sick, but we also need help from people. That's why we need to be able to keep people out as best we can, and just keep the most essential people in our building. And that's a tough one. Can teachers wear masks? Yeah, we're going to provide face shields for all our elementary teachers as well. If they want to wear a mask and a face shield, that's okay. As okay, I know that we are ordering a lot of face shields, and we're ordering a lot more thermometers, infrared thermometers, and so yeah, that's a good question. Um, just like anything else, the more we can mitigate things, the better we can. Um, I get that. That's a tough one, but I also know that our kids and our parents need kids to learn, and the number one way that they're going to learn is by a teacher who is being healthy and washing their hands and coming to work and doing the things that they can do. So yes, I get it. It is a tough one. Are they going to have more than one nurse on hand at the schools? Are they going to have temperature checks? You may or may not know this, but there are schools in Texas who don't have a nurse. Sounds crazy, I know. Um, Having a nurse on campus is not a requirement of any law. Fort Stockton ISD feels that having a nurse on campus is important. And there's also some other things that we have in place. For example, coaches, anybody who handles UIL has to be CPR required. And so, shout out to Fort Stockton ISD for providing nurses in all our campuses. Yes, are we going to get more nurses? Probably not, but we do. What we do have to do is train. with all this being said, we have been very blessed in Fort Stockton ISD that we have done things fiscally responsible for many years now, that we were able to keep everybody while we did at home learning. And we even had to pay some people a little bit more pay because of the rules that were set in place by the government and laws. So um, we have to remember we don't know how long this is going to take, and we don't want to get rid of people by any means. And so if we went out and hired all these things, we'd be looking at a lot of things that may be some issues down the road. So are they going to have more than one nurse? We'll have a nurse on our campus, every campus. Um, yes, we are looking at how to take measurements of students in our buildings. And so, yes, we are looking at that as well. It's a good question. I think we have time for a few more questions and then we'll be done because I know I want to go home. You want to go home if you're not already home. Um, let's see here. Okay, we talked about backpacks. I think we already did that one. And let's see here. Got one more, two more questions, and we'll be done. What's when students having pods like before be considered an option? Yeah, we did talk about pods. How about switching classes, or will students stay in the same class all day? We're looking at all that right now, and I know the principals are looking at their campus. I will tell you this: filling out that survey of that card is extremely important. That way, it'll help us to figure out more what we can do. So please fill out that survey that's on the webpage and what have you. So switching classes, all those things we're still working out. We've considered a lot of things, and we're still talking over a lot of things. I wish I could give you dead set answers, but I will tell you that TEA realizes this is tough, and that's why they're telling schools that you have to let people know at least 1 week before school starts. For us, August 3rd is the first day of school. The Monday before that is July 27th. Um, our goal is not to have it at that time. Our goal is to have it before then. But TEA in the state of Texas realizes like this is tough. Like you guys, the schools have a tough deal. So all these questions, I know those are the same questions we have and we're looking at. So that being said, yes, I know there's going to be specific questions about campuses, and so I will tell you this: that we will probably meet again next Friday. Um, but I want to ask this question. The reason why we do it on Friday is because we meet with TEA on Tuesday and Thursday. And so we meet with them virtually and go ask a lot of questions. They inform us of things. And so we do it on Friday. Here's my question I'd like to ask because there's some people that have said, when is the best time to do a Facebook Live? Me, on my end, I know for me, it's probably inconvenience because I'd like to do it at 5:30 when the majority of people are not at work because I'd really hate for people not to be working and say, well, I got to get on this Facebook Live, this and that, this. That's my personal opinion. Uh, you know, um, that's just how I feel about it. But I'd like to kind of know, and when people feel the best time for Facebook Live is. I will tell you this: Friday is probably going to be the best time, best day of the week because of the information we get from TEA all week long. But what time of the day would you like it? In the morning, at lunch, after 5 when everybody's at home or should be home, or for the majority from work. I don't know. But that's something that just kind of give a shout out and say, hey, your time is a bad time for me or whatever. I can't promise you when that time will be, but I will tell you that just kind of let me know, all right, on Facebook to say, no, this is a perfect time, or no, do it at noon or do it at 3. Again, my thinking is, we need people working in the most safest way possible. And so that's why I kind of choose 5:30 in the afternoon. So if students do online classes, will they be able to do sports? I answered that question already. Okay. I answered if you are able to do sports. If you want to watch this video and go back and watch it, it's quite a bit of information. I do know we're putting an FAQ together to answer as many questions as we can. I want to show you a screen real quick, how we get to that. So to answer your question, can you do sports? Yes, you can. Do I agree with that? Probably not, but I understand the importance of it. Um, I get it. Kids need to be doing things. If you don't feel safe doing it, then don't. You don't have to. You know. I get it. I'm going to share a screen with you so you can look at the school's webpage. All right. All right. Here's our webpage. I'm going to hit home. I will tell you this. This is going to be your number one way of figuring things out about the schools. Okay. It's fsisd.net. I don't know why it says page /1. That's some crazy code. I don't know. But it's fsisd.net. And you see this thing right here? This first thing that pops up, this thing that's taped to the screen. We taped it there and taped it here. If you click on that, whew, it worked. Okay, good. This is going to be where we put all the information that we are putting together in one place for people to go to. Reopening a survey link right here. Bus registration, again, it will be July 20th. Registration for school period will be July 20th as well. School calendar is there. The FAQ to the backpack is here. We just put that out probably, what was it, Wednesday, I'm thinking. So it is here as well. My computer's a little slow because I'm Facebooking live. There's quite a bit of information here. Anything you want to know about backpacks is probably going to be on here. Okay. There's some questions about what we're going to do as far as can kids carry bags. Yes, you can carry bags. There's some rules about that, 6x9. All right. So there's a lot of questions that can be answered here on the clear backpacks. All right. Let me go back here. There's a school supply list. I believe we're going to be adding more stuff as soon as we figure out what it is that we have to add, which is a ton of stuff. So those of you who are sending messages to me, say, hey, I appreciate you sharing as much as you can with us. I know that's a lot of information. If we didn't get to your question, will you add a? Yes, we are going to add a FAQ. I think that's what I was saying. Yeah. So yeah, I get it. If I didn't get to your question, not a big deal. We are going to put an FAQ together, and we've been working on that. But let me tell you, it's kind of weird because some of the questions, the answers will change on us, and so please be patient. Remember that whatever we say today could change tomorrow, could change Monday, could change Tuesday, depending on what we hear from TEA, Texas Education Agency, CDC, the state of Texas, our local agencies as well. It just all depends. So it could change. Man, I've probably been on here way too long and I need to go home. And so, with that being said, please be safe, be nice, be kind to each other. You Facebook warriors out there, spread some love. Be thankful for a lot of things that we have. Be thankful that you got up today. Be thankful that you have thumbs that you can go on Facebook. Um, Thank you to all the law enforcement people out there for working it and handling a lot of difficult situations. Um, as a community member, if you see something, say something. I know sometimes we don't think about it like that, but think about it like this. If you see something that could be wrong, Mr. Lujan at the PD is doing a great job. Mr. Harris at the sheriff's office is doing a great job. The DPS troopers are doing a great job. All our people in border patrol are doing a great job. And it's a tough job out there. And so you be patient with them. All right. And so we're all in the same boat. And those people are somebody's fathers, brothers, uncles, whatever. Um, Sisters, mothers, grandmothers, please be kind to each other. I know sometimes we get wrapped up emotionally on things, but be kind. We are working to put together a lot of things. Be kind to your principals. Shout out to your principals, please, and your staff members, because it is not easy. None of this is written down, and we're coming up with it the best we can. Thank you to Mrs. Subias being very patient with me while we do all this Facebook Live stuff. She's been super patient, and those of you who know me personally, you know how difficult I can be sometimes. I guess stubborn is the thing I would probably say, but I do appreciate it. Shout out to our school board who's been working real hard to support our district for many years, many years, and we're in a situation that we can provide all the things that we still provided before COVID-19. And that's because the leadership that we've had in place and the decisions that we have made that sometimes aren't the most popular ones, but yet they're the most needed ones. It's like this: as a parent, sometimes you need to be the parent that your kid needs you to be, not the parent they want you to be. Um, so I applaud all you parents out there, community members. Please be safe. Thank you very much. Other than that, it is 6:26. Woo! long afternoon. Be safe. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Bye bye.